Mediocre Hobbies Podcast, WarhammerFest Review. Follow us online. Andy is at youtube.com/@mediocrehobbies. Tom is at instagram.com/tom.landy.hobby.
What else is it doing?
Wow.
Since I get folded away when I'm not using it.
Makes sense.
Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Mediocre Hobbies podcast. Of course, joined by the co-host, Mr.
Tom Landy.
How are you getting on, sir? Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. Nice to see you again.
Thank you
In
very
a couple
much.
of weeks from our side because we pre-recorded before WarhammerFest.
Yes, we did. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's episode. We're going to talk about WarhammerFest a little bit, pros, cons, what I thought about it, and then maybe other sneaky topics will worm their way in as they usually do. So stick around, guys, and enjoy the episode.
I don't want to talk to you about WarhammerFest because you've done a video about WarhammerFest. And so if anyone wants to know about your opinion on the goods and bads about WarhammerFest, go to that other video. But I think from the stuff that stood out to me is stuff that you didn't talk about that I'm interested in. So you flew over on the morning of the event, that's right? And you flew back, was it Monday morning?
4 o'clock in the morning for the event, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, up at 4 o'clock. My flight was at 6:30.
Sure.
And then, yes, after the event, then I went to the airport and at 9 o'clock was our flight home or whatever. So one of the things that I got to do whilst I worked in Games Workshop was I was a manager of a store, and we had meetings every single quarter for the entire business, and then every 6 months for your region. So that means that I flew to England and back 6 times a year, 12 flights. So I'm super comfortable with the idea of getting to an airport and getting to England and going through all the up into Manchester and East Midlands and Nottingham and everything, Edinburgh. So I also live like a 10-minute drive from the airport.
That's true.
So I am the most least stressed person when people used to freak out. Like, what time's your flight? 7. Okay, what time are you getting out of bed at? 6. Are you insane? No, it's fine.
It's easy, yeah. When you're right around the corner, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, and I always feel bad for those people because it's a very Irish thing. When you land in Dublin Airport, you'll have people who don't know each other be like, how much more have you to go? 2-hour drive now. And I'm just like, I'll be asleep for an hour and 45 minutes by the time you get home. Like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm an hour from the airport, give or take.
Yeah,
and
so that can cause more stress because there's a crash or traffic or anything, disaster.
It's always traffic on the kind of last exit before you kind of hit County Dublin. That's where the road gets really busy, so that can add an hour. So
I had Mr. Tim Shobby. He stayed in mine that night because he's like you. He would be an hour away, and it could be a
sleepover.
We had a slumber party. Yeah, we had a sleepover, and then we got up and went to the airport from here. So that was good. The flight was at 6:30 land, and I was like, on the ticket, it was like it's going to be an hour and 35-minute flight or whatever. So we were like doing all our mad calculations of like, okay, that means that we're going to land at 8. And then we've got an hour to get to the reveal. It's going to be a disaster. The flight was 35 minutes.
Oh my God.
Happened. So hurricane.
Yeah. It's a pretty short hop, let's be honest.
Did there, got to the venue in time, and then was like, it's full, go away. And we were like, okay.
Yeah.
So we got to just watch it on a big screen with everyone else in the hall, holding our phones up to the Twitch stream so we could watch on the screen and listen in our phones and try and hear what they were talking about, which was it was fine. We got to see all the pretty toys and talk to everyone about it, so it was fine.
I really enjoyed the Twitch streams. I felt like cutting it off before the Q&A and stuff each time gave you a reason to be there.
Yeah.
Which doesn't usually happen. Like a lot of these things, I mean, for anyone who's not been to a Games Day or a WarhammerFest, I've only been to 2. The first I worked on the tills, and so it was just continual transaction. The second one I was doing much more just being the manager of my store and kind of, corralling my crew and stuff. But it's a queue simulator. It's like going to a theme park. It's always been a queue simulator. Everyone who complains about it hasn't been to one before. They're all queue simulators. So outside of the queuing, how was this year? It looked incredibly well organized from a distance.
Yes, I definitely feel like there was parts that were cut out. We missing the designers and stuff like that. So
that's something we probably should touch on. This was much more of a trade show than a usual WarhammerFest or Games Day. This was like show up and here is the booth that made this game, and this is the shop area. Whereas much more before this year, at least, it was there's Aaron Dembski-Bowden for 4 hours. There's John Blanche for 4 hours, and it was still a queue simulator, but you were queuing up to get them to sign a book.
and there was like 20 of them. So there was like, you're like, okay, his queue is really big, so I'm going to go queue and talk to Chris Wright for a little while first, and then I'm going to go and it just made sense.
And I remember the second year I was there where I was just roaming around. I think it was Dan Abnett was there. So maybe not Dan, but someone big, like one of the top three that you'd know. And everyone was queuing for like Aaron Dembski-Bowden. And I just walked straight up. There was 2 people in the queue, and I was like, how is no one queuing for you? And he was like, I had it this morning. They've all got my signature.
Yeah, that like I definitely think the last few WarhammerFests I went to before that, like you would go upstairs and there would be this like little space, and they had crammed 2 designers with the pad in. They were writing, so you look over their shoulders and have a quick chat to them and stuff. Or there'd be, you know, 2 sculptors sitting at a table with like their models in a cabinet, being like, these are the things that I actually sculpted for Games Workshop. And you'd be like, oh my god, you sculpted that? That's amazing. And you talk about it. Same thing with the heavy metal painters. They'd be sitting at a booth and there'd be a cabinet with all the models they painted. And you'd be like, oh my god, I didn't know you painted that. And he's like, yeah, you know, that's awesome and this. And so I did feel like the creative side of it was missing just a little bit. And I don't want to speculate on the why, but my speculation is that it's that whole only fans thing. They don't want to make personalities out of the creative side of things, is my guess. Because there was definitely
they've lost three big names on the painting table over the last couple of years between Duncan and most recently Rogue. Went Rogue. I think she's amazing. Like
she was so nice to talk to as well.
Louise's like paint style. Oh, can't even describe. Like she's from the realm of Zinch. Like there's no other way to put it. She's crazy. All of you don't know this, Andy, but there'll be superimposed images of all of her stuff. Like her work is amazing.
Yes, I was wondering that. Like people who do a specific style like hers, how repetitive it's going to be. Repetitive is the wrong word. I'm trying to think of the word of like how repetitive it's going to be moving forward. Like if she's like 100 videos deep and she does the same style for 100 videos, will that be as exciting as the first 10 she did? Or like, will she evolve, or will she do crazy things, or will she? I'm really excited to see where she goes.
Have you watched any of her work on Warhammer Plus?
No, to be honest, not really. No,
she's just a fucking good painter. Like that's just the truth. I think she was the one who did the Elder Avatar, and it's just spectacular.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. That's all I really need to know, because like I know the crazy style she does. I've seen her stuff in the cabinets and her bright, vibrant colors and her madness. So
not to diss on Duncan, but he's pretty boring in terms of his style. Like his paint style is just clean and nice and repeatable. So if you want to paint a, I don't know, Death Watch Marine, he's the man you go to, because he's probably painted 2 armors for Games Workshop and then did the official video and then did his own video, and it's not going to inspire you the way like a Louise Sugden video is going to do.
Yeah. The problem is I feel like I fit into that profile more than I fit into her profile, if you know what I mean.
I do, and I was thinking that as I was saying it, but I think the difference between what you do and what lots of people on the internet do is your stuff is achievable.
Yeah.
Like I feel like when I watched the Avatar painting video, it was literally a case of, I can't do this, but what can I do to get me a model that works? And I feel like I don't need to do that with any of your videos. I mean, if I go and grab Robert,
he's going to grab Robert, people.
Like I was painting. So my office is moved around, so everything's messy. I'll put superimpose pictures, but like, I painted him this week.
Yeah. And he looks great. I've seen close-up pictures of him, and you post them all over your Instagram, and everyone seems to love Instagram.
He's not special, but all I did was, wash and highlight and some blue and gold trim. So much trim. But like that was it. Like, and I don't need a 12-hour video on how to paint him, but I do need to understand what steps I can skip. And I think that's the difference between something that like your videos, and I think what Louise has done as well is she's kept all of that intense work to her Patreon. You don't go and watch her paint a Rainbow Warrior in her first video. She talks to you about why she likes Rainbow Warriors and what's interesting about it. And there's some bits at the end of what colors to use in it, but it's literally, she's not talking about it. She's talking about something else, and it's happening in the background. And that's, it's a value add that nobody else is doing. And I think it's important to know your niche and to kind of stay in your lane. Yeah. And also know when you can expand on that and make a real shill, you clicked on this for clickbait video on Saturday afternoon. Andrew. That actually really annoyed me on a personal level, because I literally was making coffee, right? and my phone dings at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's Mediocre Hobbies video, and I saw the word Games Day, and I clicked it, and I started watching it, and I was like, he hasn't done Leagues of Votan, Boarding Patrol, or whatever it was this weekend, and I was like, well, maybe that's what the video is, and I was like, oh, Games Day, oh, interesting. And then you're like, you only clicked on this because of the clickbait, and I was like, you're wrong. This one time, you're wrong.
I was wrong for a few people. A few people said I didn't read the title. I didn't realize what was going on until the end. I had one guy being like, "Is this serious? Is James Workshop really like that?" And I'm like, "He's not a real person. It's a joke."
None of us are real people, Andy.
It's true. Leagues of Votan video for Kill Team will drop today.
Cool. Cool.
But
I mean, I think I've seen like 3 or 4 of those kind of talking heads. How was Games Day? Everyone has the same complaints. What? I mean, I don't want to keep going on about not being there, because that's not the point of this, right? I was only there twice. One time I got lost in a conversation with the guys at Forge World about their no one will remember this Tamarkan book, which was like
I have it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's like a pre-end times Warhammer Fantasy Chaos Lord sat on top of a giant like frog dragon thing. It was awesome.
Yeah, I have them.
Yeah. No one else does in this video though, so
that's not their problem. You should have bought it, shouldn't you?
I know, right? But it was like awesome book. But the thing about the book that really stood out to me was the same with the Monsters Arcanum book. I always think that you could, during our own apocalypse, when we have another world war and everything goes to crap, and the first 50 or 60 pages of this book gets destroyed and the back cover gets destroyed, you're just going to pick up this monsters manual and go, oh my god, look at the creatures that existed in the world before, and they classified them in terms of strength and toughness and wounds. What does I mean? Who knows? But like, you know what I mean? Like, you could pick it up and you could start a religion or a cult around this book. And these guys were obviously really proud of that work because their work was amazing. But they would just turn around and go, do you want to see some stuff that didn't make it into the book? Like some of the drawings that we did that couldn't fit in, or we were going to make this unit, but it was too close to this Empire unit that we actually made. So here it is. So that, for me, that was one encounter in two trips, and it was rocking. So I can really see the value if that was something you were there for. But, you know, what was it like from your experience? I know you had a slightly different experience because you got to meet lots of people and people knew who you were, or they didn't, and you feel really bad about that, and we're not going to talk about that. But like, you know, like what was it like just being there and doing the things you did? Did you spend much time queuing, or could you avoid it?
No time queuing. I avoided all of the queues. The only time I queued was to enter my Golden Demon miniature, and I stood for 45 minutes in the wrong spot. I wasn't even in the queue. I'm not even joking. Some old lady had to come around being like, are you all queuing to put your model in? And we were all like, yeah. And she's like, this isn't the queue. We were like, oh.
Wow.
Because it was like a big square arena where all the cabinets face out and everything goes on in the middle. And the queue wrapped around the cabinets. So everyone was trying to look at the cabinets while the queue was happening. And I kept, I basically went to the start and was like, this is the queue. And I kept following the people being, I kept stopping every like 12 minutes. Are you in the queue for Golden Demon? Yeah.
I think so.
Basically that, and then we didn't move for 45 minutes, and that should have been an indicator that I wasn't in a queue. But then when I got to the queue, it took like 20 minutes to get me in and drop my model off.
So not bad.
No, not bad at all. Like if I hadn't made a stupid mistake, I would have been there in probably like 40 minutes total to get my model in.
Yeah. Any feedback or comments on your entry, or was it just a case of?
Oh, it didn't even get photographed. It didn't get any stickers. It got completely ignored, like I thought it would, to be brutally honest. It was this like. I was super proud of the frog. I was only talking about some of this earlier today, and I'm talking about the idea of like, don't make a model as kind of like overly complicated, because the idea is that like the more things you add on, the more things that the judge has to judge.
Yep.
So if you put in a milk bottle on the ground of your base and that milk bottle is painted like crap, then your model's ruined. You know what I mean? So like I thought the frog as a piece was really good. Like I was super proud of the frog. His palanquin was fine. I really didn't like the stonework on it at all. So someone would have picked it up and been like, the stonework, and that like that people talk about like, I don't like the way they judge. They're looking for flaws.
Of course they are. That's how you pick anything, right? I heard a story about like Adepticon, maybe 15 years ago, back when old world fantasy was still in the game, and one army got to the final. There was like 4 or 5. They're trying to pick who was going to be the top 3. And so as they went back around and started looking again at the Empire army, and they were like, I can't find a single flaw. The guy reached in and picked up one knight from the middle of one of the units, because he's like, if everything in this unit is painted as good as the front rank on these knights, this army is not only the best army he's ever seen, but it's amazing. But they hadn't painted below the guy's waist, so the horse was completely unpainted from like waist down because you couldn't see it in the rank. And it's like, it's exactly that. If you don't touch the model, you can't see it.
Yep.
But if you put the milk bottle on it and then you don't make it perfect, you've ruined it.
Yeah. So like I said, the stonework I dealt was soon like it was very flat and very boring. I knew it was, but I just wanted to put something in. I just wanted to say that I entered Golden Demon and it was fun. And I will enter again next year. And I will enter every year I go. And I have this goal in my head that all I ever want to achieve, like my Slayer sword, is getting a pin.
Yep, mine too.
If I ever get to a pin, I've ticked Golden Demon. I've done a great job. I'm so satisfied with the result. Win. So
well, from hearing you talk about it on Twitch and then from speaking to the boss about it, I think I'm going to enter next year as well. I'm going to pick a couple of categories and just paint them up, and I think it's going to be worth the trip to WarhammerFest next year. So I'm gonna go and
yeah.
What about what was it like being on site for the reveals? You didn't go into the room for any of them, no?
No, the queues were insane, and it was that like payoff of like, do you want to queue for 2.5 hours for something you're going to see on Twitch in 2 minutes? I'm like, no, I don't really want to do that, to be honest with you. Like Timothy queued for 4.5 hours day one to play 10th edition 40k.
Wow.
And he his unit was the first one to die, so he played for about 4 minutes. So
beautiful.
It was abysmal, to be honest. Like the queue. So that's one thing I would have. Like they had like I think 4 or 6 tables doing intros kind of thing, and there were like 4 people. And like you could have put 20 tables there,
and it wouldn't be half enough still.
No, but it would have made like the queue. You want to queue for half an hour to play 10? Sure, I'll do that. Like, why not? I'll grab a coffee, I'll drink it in the queue, throw it in the bin before I get there, and then we'll play a game. Perfect. But 4 hours, I'm just like on the I told myself I would play on the last day. And on the last day, the queue wasn't anywhere near. It was literally where the ropes start.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, perfect. And I got to the ropes and the sign said, average queue 2.5 hours from this point. And I literally was like, no, I'm not standing here for 2.5 hours on my last day. I'd rather go and meet all these cool people and talk to some people and like, so no.
I mean, side note, we'll get the box soon,
Yes. Like this year was a bit weird for me because it's my first time going as a content creator.
Sure.
So there's lots of people that wanted to actually stop and talk to me, which is really bizarre. So I got to have loads of these lovely interactions with people and talk about what we saw and what your favorite thing was so far and what are you excited about in the box set. So I got to have loads of interactions that most people probably didn't have. So I felt like my time was like constantly used. I didn't feel like, oh, I've got like 4 hours till the next thing. I'm going to sit around and do nothing or whatever. So
was there like a pen for all the content creators? Because every photograph I've seen with all the content creators together seems to be like within the same 12 square feet. So I feel like you guys were in a cage and you were just like let out to grasp at people through the sides.
A creator lounge type area, which is just for the content creators to go into. It was nothing fancy before anybody thinks we were sitting there on lazy boys with,
champagne.
No, there was
saved by James Workshop himself.
Yeah, but it was just a quiet area that if you needed to charge your phone, if you need to sit down and edit something or post something or just recharge for a little bit or, get some food and not have, like, obviously people were there, like Matt from Mini Wargaming was there. And,
sure, yeah.
Like, he's super big deal. Like, even Guy from Midwinter Minis, I watched his video yesterday and he was like, the first day I was there, I was just talking all day. And like, I was talking while I was walking to the bathroom and I was talking while I was going to get food, like that kind of thing. So like having a spot where you can go get a bit of food and sit down and it's like, obviously I didn't have that kind of experience. Not Elvis Presley, like, but
no, not yet. But I definitely do think that I don't think we think enough about, even if you're doing the job that you do, it's not exactly an extrovert's hobby. So
yeah,
even assuming everybody who's part of this creator lounge area, speaking to people might be a really big challenge for them. So somewhere that you can go that's just away is good.
And then I just abuse them by talking to them there because they
of course. Yeah, I mean, they're trapped with the wolf, but what can you do?
Yeah, I got to talk to Pete the Wargamer and stuff there, and it was so good.
And annoy him that you throw things away.
Oh, he's so annoyed. He's like, but I literally have promised him now that I'm going to just keep all my bits in a box, and I'm just once a month I'm just going to send him everything, and he'll regret it soon enough. He's like, start throwing them out. There's too many things. I'm like, no, they're all being going to you, buddy. That's it. It's done now. And like even like little things, like he told me about a super cool secret project that he's working on as like something that he might Yeah, it was just like I genuinely didn't meet a bad person that didn't like. I guess people who it isn't their scene just wouldn't go.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're Games Workshop content creators as well. I think there is a level of, whereas I don't know of anyone in the creator space that Games Workshop has sanctioned and approved who would have been invited, who falls into that real negative, hateful, you know what I mean? Like, I think there is I don't want to say there's definitely a gatekeeper aspect to it where they don't want people who are just always negative. But it's good that it comes across in real life as well as just the internet.
But yeah, that was my fest experience. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Can't wait to go back next year. Yeah, just hope they add in the creator side of things, and then I'll be happy.
What was your favorite Golden Demon model that you saw?
Jeez, there's no way to answer. There's so many. Just the level this year was terrifying. My favorite standout, which I don't even think it won or placed or anything, but I just really liked the idea of it, and it was a witch hunter warband. So someone got the Jensen Darroch model from the her city.
Yep.
And then he got the dad and daughter models, and then he got the new Underworlds model, and then the dog. So there was just like 4 witch hunters and a dog as a unit, and it was just so friggin' cool looking. I saw it and it was like, that is just the coolest thing. I need this in my life right now.
I mean, it's like I was looking at Darren Latham's, witch hunters and vampire, and then he wrote something on, was it YouTube or not YouTube? It isn't YouTube. Instagram maybe, where he designed and 3D printed the whole environment that it's in, and it's like I was looking at it and I was like, what is that from? Where are these pieces from? And they're unmanufactured Games Workshop designs designed by a man who designs for Games Workshop. They're like never going to exist, and maybe they will. Maybe they'll do a limited run of that box. Who knows? Like, you never. But crazy stuff. I think my favorite was the one that they showed on. Obviously, I didn't see them. The one on the website of the sorcerer, maybe he's Blood Angel, and the Tzeentch demons coming out of the fire.
Oh yeah.
Like, sensational. Just stupid good. And then there's, oh my god, I'm gonna have to superimpose this because I can't even describe it. There's a paint style at the moment that makes things look exactly like they're illustrated.
Yeah.
Right. Every time I screenshot them and send them to my friends, they're like, "Cool, what's that from?" And it's like, it's not from something. That's a model.
Yeah.
And I can't process it. There was a guy a few months ago did one of the Imperial Fists, and like the sword was held up, and one of my mates was like, he's even painted the shadow of the sword on his head because it just looks so, it's nuts.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
The person I saw do that a couple of years ago, and they were doing like orange and blue orcs. Wagon done in that same illustrated style, and all the vehicles were done, and it was so cool. I was just immediately in love with it. So
favorite Imperial model from the new box?
Probably the actual lieutenant that I thought was going to be super boring, and he's actually just one of the prettiest things I've ever seen, with his 3 knives, and like one's in the ground and one's in his hand and one is up.
He's
in
pretty
the
good.
video he's running holding that rifle, and I really didn't want a lieutenant holding a rifle. I just didn't want that.
Yeah,
and what boring. They gave me is just the best version of it possible.
Favorite Xenos?
The one that looks like the Venom Crawler, the one that has like its thorax in the air. That's just unbelievable to me. 10 out of 10 Tyranid miniature. As a man who's built and painted every Tyranid model ever, that is selling it to me so hard. Okay, guys, and that brings a close to another episode of Mediocre Hobbies podcast. I hope you enjoyed the 30 minutes that Tom Landy has managed to put out of whatever amount of time we ended up talking. And you enjoyed it immensely. Thank you guys so much for listening. Had a great time chatting to you as always, Mr. Landy. And
always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And I look forward to next week's episode. So tune in. Bye-bye.